For today's study guide section, we got questions number 30 through number 40. And the first part of the study guide deals with quadrilaterals. So the very first thing we said parallelograms. We know that parallelograms have opposite angles are equal, opposite sides are equal. We know that their same side angles equal 180 degrees. And so what we're asked to do is we're asked to find the other angles in this parallelogram. So I know that this other angle is 120 degrees, and also know that the same side angles, or the angle on the top, the angle on the bottom, has to add to equal 180 degrees. All right, and so what we see is that you have 120 plus 60, and that's going to give you your 180 degrees total. And so that fits for our properties of a parallelogram. Okay, also, if I'm trying to solve for x, all right, we know that these sides are equal to each other, that they are the same length in a parallelogram. So we have 2x plus 10 is equal to x plus 40. So then it just goes to solving your problem using your like terms, subtracting x, you get x plus 10 is equal to 40, and subtract 10 from both sides, and you get x is equal to 30 in this case. Okay, we could plug that back in and we could figure out what these side lengths are if we wanted to, but if they're just asking for x, we can stop at that. Remember, in a rectangle, you have 4 right angles, and the diagonals are equal to each other, or they're congruent to each other. So those diagonals in the rectangle, if one is 15, the other one is 15. So one could be 10 here, and the other one could be 10 here as well, all right, or 15 and 15, or 20 and 20, whatever. We just know that the diagonals are equal to one another. Okay, in a square, we know that all sides are equal, or all sides are congruent, and that you have all 4 right angles in there as well. So a square is always a rectangle, but a square is always a rectangle, but a rectangle is not always a square, because a rectangle doesn't necessarily have all its sides equal. A kite, the big thing is one set of opposite angles are congruent and their diagonals are perpendicular. So you know that you have a right angle there in the middle where those diagonals meet in a kite. On a rhombus, you have all sides are congruent and the diagonals are perpendicular. And also the angles that are made by the diagonals bisect each other. So you know that these angles are equal to each other. You also know that those make a right angle in the middle. Okay, so just some review of that vocabulary. Last one we have was an isosceles trapezoid. And in that, you know that you have one side that's equal to the other side. You also have base angles are equal to each other. So for example, if this was 70 degrees, this would also be 70 degrees. And the same side angles, so these two angles have to add to equal 180. Okay, so if that bottom one was 70 degrees, we would know that the top angle would have to be 110 degrees in the isosceles trapezoid. Okay, moving on to solving for x in this rectangle. Okay, we know that the diagonals here are equal to each other. And they also bisect each other. So what we're able to do is we're able to set 2x equal to 3x plus 6. Okay, 2x, excuse me, I miswrote this. This is supposed to be 2x plus 10 is equal to 3x plus 6. So let me rewrite that. We have 2x plus 10 equals 3x plus 6. Okay, and so we can subtract our 2x from both sides and get 10 is equal to x plus 6. Subtract 6 from both sides, and you get that x is equal to 4 for this case. So those diagonals, since they're equal and they bisect each other, we can get that x is equal to 4. And again, that all stems from knowing our vocabulary for our quadrilaterals. Okay, moving on to, I want to find x in this rhombus. Okay, so go back to our vocab. What do we know about a rhombus? So I know that in a rhombus, this is a 90-degree angle. Okay, I also know that all angles inside add to equal 180, or not 180, excuse me. All the angles inside add to equal 360 in a quadrilateral. Okay, and I also know that these angles bisect one another. So if this is 20, then the other angle's got to be 20. And these angles on the opposite side are also going to be equal. Okay, so right here what we have is we have 40 on one side plus another 40 on the other side to give us a total of 80 right now out of our 360 for the whole quadrilateral. So we can take this 360 and subtract 80 from that and see what we get. We get, let's see, 280 is left over. So I have 280 to get split really 4 ways between all of these angles. And so what I'm going to do is take this 280 and you divide it by 4. And we're going to get that x is equal to 70 degrees. So this x is going to be 70, this is 70, this is 70, and this is 70. Okay, another way that you could also think of this problem is you can see this as a triangle right here. And since we know that you have a 90-degree angle here, and you already knew that you had a 20-degree angle here, you know that the angles inside a triangle add up to equal 180 degrees. So you have 20 plus your 90 plus your missing angle is equal 180. So again, subtract that 110 total from 90 plus 20, and you get that x is equal to 70. Either way, we still come to the same result. X is equal to 70 in that rhombus. Okay, moving on to our last couple of problems. Moving along pretty quickly today. Solving for x in these parallel lines here. And we're going to see that you have a proportion set up. And so in our proportion, we're going to be able to figure out what this missing value is. So I'm going to set this up. I'm just going to say 15 matches with x and 20 matches with 12. And so we can cross multiply. I get 20x equals 15 times 12. Let's see what 15 times 12 is. 15 times 12 is 180. And we divide by 20. 180 divided by 20 is 9. So here x is equal to 9 in that case. Okay, one more. If I look at this triangle, I'm going to say that this whole piece over here is 10 from 6 plus 4. And this whole piece over here is 8 plus x. And so I'm going to match some things up. In my small triangle, I have 4 matches with x. Okay, and in my big triangle, or the larger shape, you have 10 matches with 8 plus x. So here again, we cross multiply. 10x is equal to 4 times 8 is 32 plus 4x. And we're solving this equation. We subtract 4x from both sides. You get 6x is equal to 32. And we get that x is equal to 5.3 repeating. Okay, we can go back and check this and see if 6 divided by 8 is the same as 4 divided by 5.3 repeating. And 6 over 8 is 0.75. And 4 divided by 5.3 repeating is also 0.75. So here in this case, it checks out. Our sides are proportional to each other. and we should be good to go.